According to the United Nations, the Boko Haram insurgency has displaced over 1.9 million people in Nigeria's northeast region. Although the Nigerian military has regained control in parts of the region, Nigerians continue to face grave violations of human rights, widespread sexual and gender-based violence, forced recruitment and suicide bombings. My guest is a country representative of the United Nations High Commission for Refugees. There, welcome to Dateline Abuja. I'm Gloria Umezuke. 50 local divers are receiving training to be first responders and reduce casualties from flood-related cases. We have a report on the proactive steps taken by the Federal Capital Territory Emergency Management Agency to ensure that residents of the nation's capital do not suffer fatality in the event of any flood. In our interview this week, we will be looking at the state of refugees and internally displaced persons in the nation's northeast region. But first, what are the stories that made headlines within the week in the nation's capital?
President Muhammadu Buhari has received the report of the Technical Advisory Committee on the implementation of the national minimum wage. He received the report on Monday when he met with members of the committee at the council chambers of the presidential villa.
I am very pleased that the committee took on this important national assignment with all seriousness. Let me thank the chairman, Mr. Bismarck Rouhani, and all the committee members most sincerely for your patriotism, your hard work, commitment, and sacrifices. I understand that you have worked tirelessly to ensure that you deliver the report before we receive the minimum wage bill from the National Assembly. We will review this report expeditiously. In the process, we may need to engage with some members of your committee. I therefore implore you to make your services available whenever we may call on you.
President Muhammadu Buhari has reacted to the spate of building collapse, especially in Lagos State, with a threat, promising that those responsible for such professional negligence will face the full wrath of the law. He issued the warning on Tuesday when he received the leadership of the Nigerian Institute of Quantity Surveyors at the presidential villa.
The recent tragic incident in Lagos and many others across the country reminds us of the need to strictly adhere to quality standards when it comes to the construction projects. Young, innocent lives must never be lost due to incompetence and greed. Simply put, no corners must be cut. I want to assure you that those responsible for such incidents of professional negligence will feel the full wrath of the law.
Meanwhile, the federal government has set up an interministerial committee on collapsed buildings as part of its commitment to find a permanent solution to the menace of collapsed building in the country. The committee was inaugurated by the Minister of Science and Technology, Dr. Agbunaya Onu, and is headed by the Acting Director General of the Nigerian Building and Road Research Institute, Professor Samson Duna.
We have selected the very best that we have. We have all the key regulatory agencies that have to do or manage our construction industry and also even the research. So we are very hopeful that this committee will do its best to ensure that you work very swiftly and come up with very important recommendations that government will look into. Even if the buildings are in near one location, the reasons may be different. So that's why it's important that every building collapse should be investigated.
The Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank of Nigeria on Tuesday reduced the interest rate from 14% to 13.5%. The monetary policy rate had been held at a record high of 14% since July 2016, when it was increased from 12%. The CBN Governor, Mr. Godwin Emefiele, announced the decision of the committee at the end of a two-day meeting.
The non-manufacturing PMI increased by 58.5 index points compared to 58.4 in February 2019. The increase in both measures of PMI were driven by increases in production, employment, raw material inventories, and new orders. This improved outlook was attributable to the continued stability in the foreign exchange market, various interventions by the bank, in the real sector, and the effective implementation of the Economic Recovery and Growth Plan by the federal government.
The federal government has approved the establishment of a ministerial committee to come up with an alternative means of financing the nation's infrastructure. The decision was taken after the weekly Federal Executive Council meeting.
The Council also approved the establishment of a committee to work together to basically come up with alternative ways to add to the work the government is already doing to finance infrastructure. We would like to see infrastructure spending go up considerably, and therefore the Council approved that a committee of ministers and ICRC, the Director General of ICRC, the Chief Executive Officer of African Finance Corporation, and the Executive Secretary of Nigerian Investment Promotion Commission, and also the Chief Executive Officer of Nigerian Sovereign Investment Authority, and a number of private sector players will be co-opted, will work together to basically come with a recommendation to the Cabinet on how to increase our infrastructure spending significantly.
President Muhammadu Buhari has given the assurance that the federal government remains committed to sanitizing the rot within the pension system, as well as ensure that hard-working Nigerians live in dignity and retire without fear. The president gave this assurance during the launch of a micro-pension plan at the State House on Thursday.
I want to assure all Nigerians that this government remains committed to resolving all pension issues on pension payment in the federal public sector, despite the lean resources of the government. The dignity of retired public servants who sacrifice their lives for this country will be restored. We will ensure all hardworking Nigerians in the private sector, both formal and informal, can retire without fear.
Vice President Professor Yemi Osinbajo has been explaining what the next level agenda of the present administration means to Nigerians. Speaking at the 11th Bola Tinubu colloquium, Professor Osinbajo explained that in the next 4 years, the current social investment program would be expanded.
The next level promises to be exciting. It promises to be as challenging as possibly where we're coming from. But as the President has said repeatedly, we have no other focus, we have no other commitment but the progress of this country. And we will ensure that step by step we get to where it is that we promise the country that we're taking the country to.
President Muhammadu Buhari met with service chiefs on Thursday at the State House. The agenda of the closed-door meeting was not made public. It will be recalled that similar meetings were held before each of the just concluded general elections on February 23rd, March the 9th, and March 23rd. Those in attendance at the latest meeting include Chief of Defense Staff General Gabriel Olunishakin, Chief of Naval Staff Vice Admiral Ibok Ete Ibas, and the Chief of Air Staff Air Marshal Sadiq Abubakar. The Chief of Army Staff Lieutenant General Tukur Buratai and the Director General of the National Intelligence Agency Mr. Ahmed Abubakar sent representatives. The Minister of Defense General Mansour Dan Ali, the National Security Advisor General Babagana Mungunu, The Director General of the Department of State Services, Mr. Yusuf Bichi, and the Acting Inspector General of Police, Muhammad Adamu, attended the meeting. The Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Mr. Boss Mustafa, was also at the meeting. President Muhammad Buhari met with the leadership of the Christian Association of Nigeria on Friday in the State House. The meeting was held behind closed doors. Also held behind closed doors was a meeting of the President with imams and senior Islamic scholars from the 36 states of the Federation and the Federal Capital Territory.